Chapter 1. Colin, Noah, Isaiah, and Dane had been friends since childhood, and they had always dreamed of being heroes. Little did they know that their moment of heroism would come sooner than they expected. One night, as they were walking home from a late movie, they noticed something strange in the sky. A dark cloud had descended over the city, and it seemed to be spreading like a virus. As they got closer, they could see that the cloud was not a natural phenomenon. It was a darkness demon overlord, a creature that thrived on the negative energy of society. It had come to the city to feed on the fears and anxieties of the people, and it had already begun to take over. Colin, Noah, Isaiah, and Dane knew that they had to act fast if they were going to save their city. They had no weapons, no magic spells, and no plan. All they had was their courage and their determination to fight for what was right. The demon overlord sensed their presence and sent its minions after them. The friends fought bravely, using their fists and whatever objects they could find as weapons. They knew that they were outnumbered and outmatched, but they refused to back down. As they fought, they began to realize that the demon overlord was not just a physical entity. It was a metaphor for the darkness that existed within society. The fear, hatred, and ignorance that drove people to hurt each other were the very things that fed the demon's power. With this newfound understanding, the friends fought even harder. They began to speak to the minions, to try and show them that there was another way. They spoke of love, of kindness, of the power of community. Slowly but surely, the minions began to see the light. They turned on their master, and the demon overlord was left alone. The friends approached the demon overlord, and they knew that this was the final battle. They stood face to face with the darkness, and they refused to give in. They used their words, their hope, and their love to defeat the demon overlord once and for all. As the darkness dissipated, the friends looked around them. They saw the city in a new light, a brighter light. They saw that the people were beginning to wake up, to see each other as humans and not enemies. They knew that their fight was far from over, but they also knew that they had each other. Chapter 2. The city had seen a new dawn since Colin, Noah, Isaiah, and Dane had fought the darkness demon overlord. The people had started to look at each other with kindness, and the streets were filled with laughter and happiness. But the comrades knew that their fight was far from over. They could feel it in their bones that something sinister was brewing, and they had to prepare themselves for the worst. One day, they received news that the darkness demon overlord had a more powerful master, a being so evil that it could control the darkness itself. The comrades knew that this would be their toughest battle yet, and they began training day and night. They knew that they had to be prepared for anything that this new enemy would throw their way. The day of the battle arrived, and the comrades marched towards the enemy's stronghold. They could feel the darkness closing in on them, but they pushed through, determined to succeed. As they reached the stronghold, they were met with an army of darkness minions, but they were no match for the comrades' newly acquired skills. As they fought their way through the minions, they could feel the presence of the darkness master getting stronger. They finally reached the inner sanctum, where they saw the darkness master, a being so vile that it made the darkness demon overlord seem like a child's plaything. The battle was fierce, and the comrades fought with everything they had. They used their skills, their weapons, and their knowledge of the darkness to fight the master. But as the battle raged on, they could feel themselves getting weaker. They had never encountered an enemy so powerful, and they were starting to lose hope. In the middle of the battle, as the comrades were starting to get overwhelmed, a plot twist occurred. Noah, their dearest friend, was struck down by the darkness master. Colin, Isaiah, and Dane were devastated, but they knew that they had to keep fighting. They knew that they had to win, for Noah's sake. The comrades fought harder than ever before, using all the skills they had learned in their years of training. They could feel the darkness master getting weaker, and they knew that they were close to winning. And then, with one final strike, they defeated the darkness master. The comrades stood victorious, but they were filled with sorrow. They had lost their friend Noah, and it was a loss that they would never forget. They knew that they had won the battle, but the victory was bittersweet. Chapter 3. The loss of Noah had left a gaping hole in the hearts of Colin, Isaiah, and Dane. They mourned their fallen comrade every day, knowing that they had lost someone who meant the world to them. But then, one day, they heard of a holy tower that could revive someone at the top. The three friends knew that this was their chance to bring back Noah, and they set out on their journey immediately. But the journey to the holy tower was filled with trials and tribulations. They had to face the treacherous mountain passes, overcome deadly obstacles, and defeat dangerous enemies. Despite the challenges, the friends pressed on, their bond growing stronger with each obstacle they overcame. They knew that their friendship was being tested, and they were determined to prove that they were willing to go to any lengths to bring back their fallen comrade. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they reached the top of the holy tower. But before they could revive Noah, they had to prove their strong friendship. The guardian of the tower gave them a series of tasks that they had to complete to prove their loyalty and friendship to each other. The tasks were difficult, and the friends were pushed to their limits. But they knew that this was their chance to bring back Noah, and they gave it their all. They worked together, encouraging each other and lifting each other up when they stumbled. And finally, they completed the tasks and proved their friendship beyond any doubt. And then, the moment they had been waiting for arrived. They were led to a chamber where Noah lay, his body perfectly preserved. With bated breath, they performed the ancient ritual to revive him. And then, in a burst of light, Noah opened his eyes. The friends were filled with joy as they hugged their newly revived comrade. Tears streamed down their faces as they realized that they had achieved the impossible. They had brought back their fallen comrade from the dead. The reunion was a deeply emotional scene, and the friends knew that they would never take each other for granted again. They had gone through so much to get here, and they had emerged stronger, both individually and as a group. As they made their way down the holy tower, the friends knew that they had achieved something truly remarkable. They had proven their friendship beyond any doubt, and they had brought back a fallen comrade from the dead. The reunion was emotional, and the friends knew that they would live on forever. Chapter 4. Colin, Isaiah, Noah, and Dane had decided to take a break from their heroics and go on a trip together. They were traveling through a dense forest when they stumbled upon an old, abandoned dungeon. Curiosity got the better of them, and they decided to explore the dungeon. As they made their way through the dark corridors, they suddenly heard a menacing voice. It was the damaged master demon Overlord, and he had somehow survived their last encounter with new and even more powerful abilities. The demon Overlord had trapped them inside the dungeon, and there seemed to be no way out. As the hours turned into days, they began to lose hope. But then, a stranger by the name of Lily stumbled upon them. Lily was an adventurer just like them, and she could see that they were in trouble. She decided to help them escape the dungeon. Together, they battled their way through the demon Overlord's minions and managed to escape the dungeon. As they emerged into the sunlight, they were filled with gratitude towards Lily. They knew that they would never forget this act of kindness. Lily ended up joining their group, and the friends quickly realized that she was a force to be reckoned with. She had skills that complemented theirs perfectly, and they were amazed by her bravery and determination. As they traveled together, they faced new challenges and adventures. Lily quickly became an integral part of the group, and they couldn't imagine going on without her. They knew that they had formed a bond that would last a lifetime. Finally, they learned that the demon Overlord had returned with even more power. They knew that they had to stop him once and for all. The friends prepared for the epic battle, knowing that it would be the most difficult challenge they had ever faced. In the final battle, Lily surpassed her limits, unleashing her full potential. Her skills and bravery were the key to their victory. And in the end, as they stood victorious, Lily joined the party of Noah, Isaiah, Dane, and Colin forever. As they looked around at each other, they knew that they had formed something truly special. They had found each other in the most unlikely of places, and together, they had overcome unimaginable challenges. They knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. Chapter 5. Noah, Isaiah, Colin, and Lily woke up in their house together, but something was off. They couldn't find Dane anywhere. After searching the entire house, they found a note that had been left behind. It was from the Demon King's predecessor, and it said that he had kidnapped Dane and was brainwashing him at the Fortress of Doom. The group knew that they had to act fast. They had to rescue Dane and stop the demon before it was too late. Reluctantly, they set out on their journey, knowing that they might have to fight their own friend. As they made their way to the Fortress of Doom, they encountered the demon's minions. They fought their way through the hordes of monsters, knowing that their friend's life was at stake. When they finally reached the fortress, they found Dane, but he wasn't the same. He had been brainwashed by the demon and was now its loyal servant. The group knew that they had to fight Dane, even though it went against everything they stood for. The battle was intense, and emotions were running high. Colin, in a moment of desperation, unleashed a demon inside himself to combat the Demon King's predecessor, who had surpassed even the Demon King's strength. Despite the odds being against them, they managed to defeat the Demon King's predecessor and free Dane from its control. However, the victory was bittersweet, as they had lost a part of themselves in the process. As they made their way back home, the group knew that they would never forget the sacrifice that they had made for their friend. They had been forced to fight one of their own, and it had taken a toll on all of them. But they knew that they had to keep moving forward no matter what challenges lay ahead. They had formed a bond that was unbreakable, and they would face anything together. Chapter 6. Noah, Isaiah, Dane, Colin, and Lily were on a well-deserved break from their adventures. They decided to spend the day together, just having fun and enjoying each other's company. They started their day with a big breakfast at their favorite diner. They talked and laughed, enjoying the delicious food and the friendly atmosphere. After breakfast, they decided to go to the amusement park. At the amusement park, they went on all the rides, from the biggest roller coasters to the smallest bumper cars. They screamed and laughed together, feeling the adrenaline rush through their bodies. They also played games, trying to win prizes for each other. Noah won a giant stuffed animal for Lily, while Colin won a toy sword for Dane. Isaiah and Lily won matching bracelets for each other, which they wore proudly. As the day started to wind down, they decided to have a picnic in the park. They spread out a blanket and ate sandwiches and fruit while enjoying the sunshine and fresh air. They spent the rest of the day playing frisbee and other games, just enjoying each other's company. As the sun started to set, they all went back to Noah's house to watch a movie together. It was a fun and relaxing day, and they all felt closer to each other than ever before. They knew that they had to get back to their adventures soon, but for that one day, they were just a group of friends having fun together. Chapter 7. Colin had always felt like there was something different about him. Ever since he was a child, he had strange dreams and a feeling of darkness lurking within him. As he grew older, the darkness became stronger, and he realized that he was not alone in his body. He learned that a demon had taken up residence inside him, feeding on his negative emotions and growing stronger with every passing day. At first, Colin was terrified of the demon and tried to fight it off, but he soon realized that it was a part of him now. The demon inside Colin had a name, and it spoke to him in his dreams. It promised power and strength, but at a cost. Colin knew that he couldn't give in to the demon's temptations, but it was always there, lurking in the back of his mind. Over the years, Colin learned to live with the demon inside him. He found ways to control it, to keep it at bay, but he knew that it was always a part of him. He feared what would happen if he ever let his guard down and allowed the demon to take over. Despite the demon's presence, Colin lived a relatively normal life. He went to school, made friends, and even fell in love. But the demon was always there, waiting for its chance to take over. Colin never told anyone about the demon inside him. He didn't want to scare his friends or family, and he didn't want anyone to think he was crazy. But he knew that one day he would have to face the demon and make a choice. For years, Colin struggled with the demon inside him. He feared what would happen if he ever lost control, but he also feared living a life controlled by the darkness inside him. But for now, he kept the demon at bay, knowing that one day he would have to face it head-on. Chapter 8. Noah, Isaiah, Dane, Colin, and Lily had been traveling for a long time, facing many challenges and overcoming countless obstacles. They had become a tight-knit group, but they knew that they still had much to learn. One day they met an old wise master who lived deep in the mountains. Dane stepped up and asked the master to train them, to which he agreed. The master told them that he would train their weaknesses, not their strengths, as that was the only way for them to truly grow and mature. Noah's weakness was his lack of agility, so the master put him through intense training that focused on speed and agility. He had to dodge obstacles, run up steep inclines, and jump over gaps. Eventually, Noah became faster and more agile than he ever thought possible. Isaiah's weakness was his lack of focus, so the master taught him meditation and breathing exercises to help him clear his mind and improve his concentration. Isaiah spent hours sitting in silence, focusing only on his breathing and letting go of all distractions. He emerged from his training with a newfound sense of clarity and focus. Colin's weakness was his lack of physical strength, so the master put him through a rigorous strength training program. Colin lifted weights, did push-ups and pull-ups, and ran with weights on his back. He emerged from his training with bulging muscles and newfound confidence in his physical abilities. Lily's weakness was her fear, so the master taught her how to face her fears head-on. She had to confront her worst nightmares and push herself to do things that scared her. She emerged from her training as a brave and courageous warrior, ready to face any challenge. Dane's weakness was his impulsiveness, so the master taught him patience and discipline. He had to meditate for long periods, waiting for hours without moving or speaking. He had to think through every decision and plan out his actions carefully. He emerged from his training as a wise and disciplined leader. After months of intense training, the 5 friends were stronger, more mature, and more confident than ever before. They knew that they still had much to learn, but they were ready to face any challenge that lay ahead. They thanked the wise master for his teachings and set out once again on their journey, ready for whatever lay ahead. Chapter 9. Noah, Colin, Isaiah, Lily, and Dane said their goodbyes to the old master and continued on their journey to find the legendary Sword of Fire. The heat grew more intense as they entered the flame dungeon, and they could feel the flames licking at their skin. As they walked deeper into the dungeon, they encountered a powerful flame elemental guarding the flame sword. The elemental was surrounded by flames, and its body was made of pure fire. It was a formidable foe, and they knew that they had to find a way to damage it in order to beat it and claim the sword. They fought bravely, but one by one, all of the friends were knocked out by the elemental's powerful attacks. Colin was the last one standing, and he was filled with anger at the elemental for hurting his friends. As he fought, he felt a dark presence inside of him building, and he knew that he was losing control. Suddenly, he unleashed the demon inside of him, and his body was engulfed in black flames. The elemental was caught off guard, and Colin was able to land several devastating blows. The elemental was weakened, and Colin was able to claim the flame sword. But as he sheathed the sword, he collapsed to the ground, unconscious. The friends were worried, but they knew that Colin's inner demon had been unleashed, and they knew that they had to be careful around him. They carried Colin out of the flame dungeon, and as they emerged into the cool night air, they could feel the power of the flame sword coursing through their bodies. They knew that they had taken a great step forward in their journey, but they also knew that they had to be wary of the dangers that lay ahead. As they set off once again, they knew that they were stronger than ever before, but they also knew that they would face even greater challenges in the future. But with their newfound strength and determination, they were ready to face anything that came their way. Chapter 10. Noah, Dane, Colin, Lily, and Isaiah were out traveling for no particular reason other than adventure when they stumbled upon a dark tunnel full of mirrors. It was the rumored Mirror Labyrinth, a place where people often got lost and trapped inside. As they walked through the tunnel, they were suddenly split up and trapped in separate mirror rooms. Each room was filled with mirrors that reflected their worst fears and inner demons. They all had to fight shadows of themselves, and each faced unique challenges that tested their strengths and weaknesses. Noah was trapped in a room filled with mirrors that reflected his self-doubt and insecurities. He had to confront the shadow version of himself, who constantly told him that he wasn't good enough. Noah had to overcome his fear of failure and find the confidence to defeat his shadow self. Dane found himself in a room filled with mirrors that reflected his impatience and recklessness. He had to fight his shadow self, who was even quicker and more agile than he was. Dane had to learn to slow down and think before he acted in order to defeat his shadow self. Colin was trapped in a room filled with mirrors that reflected his arrogance and pride. He had to fight his shadow self, who was just as intelligent and cunning as he was. Colin had to learn to work with others and put his ego aside in order to defeat his shadow self. Lily found herself in a room filled with mirrors that reflected her fear of failure and self-doubt. She had to fight her shadow self, who was just as courageous and determined as she was. Lily had to learn to trust in her own abilities and have faith in herself in order to defeat her shadow self. Isaiah was trapped in a room filled with mirrors that reflected his lack of direction and purpose. He had to fight his shadow self, who was just as lost and confused as he was. Isaiah had to find his own path and purpose in life in order to defeat his shadow self. By the end of their challenges, they all emerged victorious and reunited with each other. Chapter 11. Noah, Dane, Colin, Isaiah, and Lily were now members of the renowned guild known as the Silver Blades. They had completed many quests together and had become known as a formidable team. One day, the guildmaster summoned them and assigned them a task to accompany two new members, Andre and Kirk. The task was to journey to the faraway mountain ranges, where a colossal rock beast had been terrorizing the nearby towns. The beast was said to be enormous, with skin as hard as rock and the power to unleash devastating attacks. The guild had received reports that it was getting more aggressive by the day. The gang was excited to take on the challenge, but also apprehensive about the scale of the beast. They set out on their journey, braving through rough terrain and inclement weather. When they finally reached the mountain ranges, they could see the beast in the distance. The creature was massive, with its head reaching the clouds. Its body was covered in rocky protrusions, and it had glowing red eyes that blazed with anger. The gang and their new allies knew they had to work together to take down the beast. As they approached the beast, it let out an earth-shattering roar, and the ground beneath them shook. The gang readied themselves for battle, but as they got closer, they realized that the beast was even bigger than they had anticipated. Endless rocks and boulders covered the ground as the beast began to attack. Its sheer size and power made it difficult for the gang to find any weaknesses in its defense. The battle was intense, with the gang struggling to find a way to defeat the beast. Just as it seemed like they were making progress, the beast unleashed a massive shockwave that knocked out all of the gang, except for Isaiah and Lily. They were left to face the beast alone, but Lily could sense Isaiah was too damaged to do anything. As she stood there staring up at the colossal creature, she knew that this was the toughest challenge they had ever faced. The beast was just too big and too powerful, but they couldn't give up, not when so much was at stake. Lily mustered up her courage, and with a deep breath, charged forward, knowing that her friends were counting on her. As she prepared to strike, the world around her went black. Chapter 12. Isaiah looked on in horror as Lily was knocked down by the giant rock beast. He knew that he was too weak to help her, and the guilt weighed heavily on him. He had always felt like he was the weakest member of the group, and now it seemed that his fears had been confirmed. As Lily lay on the ground, her will and body broken, Isaiah crawled over to her. He took her hand in his and gave her a deep emotional lecture, telling her that she was stronger than she knew, and that she had the power within her to overcome any obstacle. His words seemed to awaken something inside of Lily, and she slowly got to her feet. Her eyes were blazing with a newfound determination, and she faced off against the rock beast once more. Isaiah watched as Lily launched herself at the beast, her fists pounding against its rocky hide. He couldn't believe the strength and power she was displaying. He had never seen anything like it before. As the battle raged on, Isaiah felt a sense of pride and admiration for Lily. She had shown him that strength comes from within, and that it was possible to overcome even the greatest of obstacles. In the end, the group was able to defeat the giant rock beast, but the memory of Lily's bravery and determination stayed with Isaiah long after the battle was over. He vowed to continue to train and improve himself so that he could be a better ally and friend to the rest of the group. Chapter 13. After the huge fight where Lily had awakened her own powers, Isaiah quenched himself and his own strength. Clouded by frustration, he left by himself into deep, uncowned lands. Isaiah felt lost and alone, wandering aimlessly in the vast and dangerous wilderness. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy that had been haunting him for weeks. He was a jack of all trades, but he felt like he was a master of none. He couldn't help but feel that he was holding his friends back in their adventures. One day, as he was fighting a particularly tough monster, he found himself on the brink of death. He could feel his strength fading away and his consciousness slipping. Just as he was about to give up, he heard a familiar voice calling out to him. "Hey, Isaiah! Hang in there, buddy! We're coming to help you!" It was the voice of Noah, his oldest and closest friend. As if by magic, his other friends, Dane, Colin, and Lily, appeared beside Noah. They had come to rescue him and to remind him of the strength he possessed. "Isaiah, you're not holding us back. You're an important part of our team, and we need you just as much as you need us," said Lily, her eyes full of determination. "We all have our strengths and weaknesses, Isaiah, but together we're unstoppable," added Colin. Dane stepped forward, his signature grin on his face. "Besides, who else is going to make us laugh and keep us sane on these crazy adventures?" Isaiah felt a warm, comforting feeling wash over him. He had been so focused on his own self-doubt that he had forgotten the strength and support of his friends. "Thanks, guys," he said, his voice full of emotion. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Together, they fought off the monster and continued their journey, stronger and closer than ever before. Isaiah knew that he still had a long way to go in his journey of self-discovery, but he knew that he had the best friends by his side. Chapter 14. Noah, Dane, Colin, Isaiah, and Lily continued to travel together, going on new adventures and completing quests. However, it seemed like their once strong bond was beginning to weaken. Arguments became more frequent, and tension filled the air between them. Noah and Colin had different ideas on how to approach quests, while Dane and Lily often butted heads over battle strategies. Isaiah, who was always the mediator, found himself feeling helpless as his friends grew increasingly distant from each other. Despite their disagreements, they continued to push forward. However, after their latest quest, things took a dark turn. Lily was nowhere to be found, and the gang couldn't seem to agree on how to find her. Noah wanted to head back to town and gather more information, while Dane insisted they should split up and search the surrounding area. Colin suggested they consult a local fortune teller, but Isaiah believed they should stay put and wait for Lily to return on her own. As the tension between them grew, it seemed as if their once inseparable bond was on the brink of destruction. Chapter 15. Noah, Isaiah, Colin, and Dane were filled with despair as they felt the weight of their failing friendship and the loss of Lily. Suddenly, Kirk and Andre rushed from the trees with news of Lily's reported capture, and they quickly followed Andre and Kirk, who had witnessed the kidnapping. As they approached their destination, the clouds darkened, and the group felt a strange familiarity. They ran past dead trees and bushes and peered to see a destroyed forest, with Lily in the hands of a familiar foe. There, they saw the Shadow Demon King, now even larger and stronger than before, holding Lily captive in his massive hand. His eyes glowed with an evil power, and his voice boomed throughout the forest. "Welcome, heroes," he sneered. "I have been waiting for you. You may have defeated me twice, but now I have the power to crush you like insects. After absorbing the power of the Hellstone, I am more powerful than a god." Noah, Dane, Isaiah, and Colin stood there in horror. Dane yelled to charge the demon with full power, but the group, looking broken, did not follow as they usually would. Their friendship seemed crushed to bits. The demon cackled louder than thunder. "Ha ha 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 ha! You all can't even come together to save your friend. Ha! And here I thought you were true heroes. I guess all those times you beat me were flukes. Look how low you have fallen." Colin looked down in anger, fear, and sadness. His head began to ache badly, and darkness consumed him. The demon inside of him started to unleash, and soon the demon took 100% control of his body. The friends looked with worry of their friend as Colin leaped towards the darkness demon Overlord. The demon chuckled with a disappointed look, and as swatting a fly knocked Colin out of the air. The demon faded away, and Colin's pale skin showed. Sending him through Tress Beyond, Colin was knocked down. "Is that all? Oh, please, I was expecting something a little more exciting from the most legendary heroes in this land. Noah, Dane, and Isaiah were terrified and felt hopeless. Noah fell to his knees in defeat. Isaiah looked to the ground in anger, and Dane stood in horror. Suddenly, the world drew silent. The harsh winds from the demon's power slowed. Lily managed to scream from the depths of the demon's grip. Hey! What are you all doing? Has our years of adventure meant nothing to you? What have we been fighting for? The demon tightened his grip, and Lily coughed blood. Quiet down, Bug. I'm about to end this charade. Dane walked forward in front of Noah and Isaiah, his silhouette outlined by the demon's bright power. While looking towards the demon, he shouted, "Stand your ground!" Noah and Isaiah flicked from their despair and faced Dane. I'm sorry that we've been arguing. None of this would have happened if Lily hadn't ran off in frustration. Noah looked on in sadness. Dane, it's not quiet! Listen, Noah, Isaiah, we all have had our troubles, but we've all managed to pull through somehow. And that's because we've had each other's back. And I'm sorry I was lashing in anger when I should have been helping our ties when they were breaking. But right now, our friend is in danger, and Colin has been injured. I know you all have the strength to come together. And I know even better that we have the strength to beat this demon, like we did when we first ventured. Dane looked back at his friend with his signature grin. Now don't tell me you're chickening out now of all times, are you? Noah and Isaiah stood up tall and in unison. Hell no! They both shouted. The friends knew they would have to have their Colin's demon strength to win this fight. The shadow demon noticed them running towards Colin and recognized the glint in their eyes. They were determined. The demon leaped in between them and Colin and roared, sending trees flying. Colin leaped and kicked the demon in the back of the head, going past him and standing with Noah, Isaiah, and Dane. Don't turn your back to the enemy, idiot. Dane and Colin shook hands and stood side by side facing this demon. Colin had mastered his demon form and conquered the demon inside himself, able to use its full power. The four friends remembered their hardships. Noah, who had fallen due to his lack of agility, was revived by his friends. Dane, whose impulsiveness had let him be brainwashed by the shadow demon Overlord's predecessor, was freed by his friends as well. Isaiah, who was insecure of his abilities, found himself and learned to accept himself. Colin, who was overcome by his anger and the demon inside him, was rescued and taken shoulder to shoulder by his friends. And Lily, who stood in fear of the rock giant, was given hope by Isaiah. All of them had everyone's back. And now Lily, who saved everyone from the rock giant, was in trouble, and they were not ready to back down. As if the heavens were shining through, a light beamed on the friends and they glowed furiously. Their shining aura summoned a beam of light and attacked the darkness demon lord, who attacked back with a beam of shadows. This beam of shadow was nowhere near a match, and the beam of light shattered the demon to dust, freeing Lily to the ground. The group took Lily by the hand and pulled her up, and together they walked into the full moon in the night. The end.